Chad, this has been a long time coming. I think we have canceled on each other. I don't even know how many times. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's been like a year, maybe more than that.
I think it's been more than a year.
Maybe more than a year. Yeah, for us to get here.
Well, COVID hit, and then I was, 2.5 years ago or whatever it was now, I got so sick that I'm a hypochondriac now. So I think
Did you go get down with COVID for a
while?
Oh, man.
It was
oh, yeah, you got it like about the same time Aubrey got it.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of where you guys are kind of like the same situation.
Same kind of symptoms, heart issues. Yeah, it was no joke. I mean, that was pre-vaccine, and whether you're,
right.
That's not a statement, but so there was no treatments in the hospital. There was nothing, man. It was scary times. Scariest I've ever been in my life.
How long are you down for?
Officially with a fever for 15 days. I missed 23 days of work, I want to say.
Gosh.
So it was no joke. Anyway, so I was like real paranoid about being close to people.
Yeah,
and that was a big part of it.
I understand that. I mean, I'm sure if you almost die, you kind of think.
And then you had a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, and there's a few things going on here. So but now we're rolling and everything's good. And so and you got the YouTube thing going, which is awesome.
Yeah.
So I mean, this works out perfect for us to do both these at the same time.
Yeah.
So I mean, I guess to kick it off, like just tell me a little bit about yourself, and then we'll just kind of dive in because we don't have any notes or anything that we'll just kind of let it flow and see where we end up.
Word. Okay. Man, it could end up in a scary place.
Perfect. Even better. Makes good content.
So anybody that doesn't know me, my name's Chad Shanks. I'm been in the bike industry since 1999. Been bike racing since then, and I've kind of been here, there, everywhere. And
are you from here in the city?
I grew up in Moore.
Okay.
Yeah. And grew up in Moore, and then moved to Norman eventually. That's where I met Sarah. Then we lived in Tulsa for I think it was 9 years or so, and we moved back here when we bought the shop.
Okay.
Yeah.
What did you grow up racing bikes, or do you have a background in that, or you just?
No, honestly, best of my recollection, and I am sober now, but I haven't been sober my whole life, so it gets a little fuzzy. But best I can recall, I was late to the game on the bicycle, so I want to say. Man, I don't think I rode a bike with no training wheels until I was like 8.
Oh, okay.
Like it was late. And then, man, it was game on. Thankfully, I was a child of the 80s, so my parents were, they wouldn't let me go anywhere, but they were slightly free-range parents. I got great parents.
Mm-hmm.
So they let me build, wooden jumps in front of the house and skid my tires and all that kind of stuff. And that's all we did. Right. So that's what I grew up doing, was just riding my BMX bike in front of the house. And
did you do it? Did you have the pegs and do all the tricks and all the things, or
eventually? Yeah, but that was really more when I got a little older. Kitty's going to join us here pretty
Shop
soon.
Kitty. I mean, this cat's the cutest thing ever.
Shop Kitty. So we I eventually transitioned into freestyle bikes.
Freestyle. Did you race BMX?
Never raced BMX. I didn't even know that racing BMX was a thing for probably until I was 20.
Yeah,
honestly.
Same. Yeah, I had no idea.
Yeah.
Oh, perfect. We got a guest appearance.
Yeah.
I had no idea either.
Yeah, she knows I got a new shirt, so she's like, let me see if I can torch that one up too. But I wish I would have, honestly. Sooner Pearl was a hot thing. And if I'd have known about it, I'd have been all over it, no doubt. But I mostly did, a bit of dirt jumping. Street was like my claim to fame. As I got a little older, I was a pretty decent street rider. And that's how I met most of my buddies that y'all know in the community.
Did you know, like, Charles and Brandon and all those guys back in the day, or?
Yes, well, sort of. When I was riding street, I think Brandon was one of the first people that I met. She'll get on your keyboard.
We'll keep her off the keys.
Yeah, he looked like Harry Potter. He had, tortoise rim glasses, super skinny, and he was a great freestyle rider, But I met him, and then I met Virgil and Shane, and eventually Charles and. Les and all and I'm leaving out JD, who works here now, and I'm leaving out a ton.
The old school crew.
Yeah, the old school crew, and then it's been fun seeing all those dudes turn into mountain bikers and road riders and kind of the different journeys. But yeah, that's what we were all doing back then for sure. Awesome. I met Charles because I worked at the bicycle store too.
When did you get into road bikes?
So that was. Let's see, I started at Al's, and I think it was 1999, and I was only riding freestyle bikes, and I was super hardcore. Like, I was like, man, there's no way I'm shaving my legs. There's no way I'm like freestyle or die,
Right.
kind of thing. And so,
Did you like the movie Rad?
so my nickname growing up is Rad Chad. Like,
That's awesome.
like if you talk to Eric Melton or whoever, like anyone that's known me since I was a kid, like that was my nickname. That I've been called that since I was like 10.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
I love that movie. I knew nothing about bikes, and I loved that movie.
I mean, it's like, dude, you have to. Everyone, yeah, she's ornery.
I love it. She's just front and center on the
I
camera.
know, dude. Like, this is so typical for her.
It's so
Okie
good.
Cats came and took a bunch of photos of her, and she just hammed out. Like, she knows somehow she's being filmed or photographed.
That's so awesome.
But yeah, I loved the movie Rad for sure. I don't remember what we were talking
That's
about.
great. Oh, well, we got into you getting into racing bikes when you started.
Yeah, so I worked with this dude Rodney Crow, and that was at Alice Bicycles in Southside Oklahoma City. Shout out to Rodney. He was really him and my buddy WB Cephas, which WB is now back into riding road bikes again. He's recently bought a bike from us. They were, real hardcore into going to Draper and like turning fast lap times. Of course, this was pre-Strava and all that stuff. And they conned me into buying, I think it was a Trek 930 turquoise blue, and so I did. And it was one of those like eat ramen noodles because I was a young father, at the time, so I was broke as all get outs. So I bought the mountain bike. They took me out there, and man, they pummeled me. Like, it was ridiculous. And I hated it, honestly. Like, it was awesome, but it was just so, like, I was so tired and so bonked out of my mind. And they didn't like ease me into it like you would think how people generally, like, hey, come out, don't worry, we won't leave you. No, it's like turbo mode straight out of the parking lot. And I was able to kind of hang because I had some handling skill, but I remember leaving there and I was like, take me to Taco Bell. And it was like giant Mountain Dew and, double deck 3, everything basically.
Right.
And I thought I was going to die. But after that, then they conned me into a mountain bike race, and it just stuck. Like, I was like, mountain bike racing is amazing. Like, this
That's a perfect transition from BMX, though.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. And everybody, at the time, the cycling community was much smaller. And so at the time, my riding was impressive because, there wasn't that many people to measure yourself against. And they were like, oh, you can actually handle a bike really well. And, mountain biking was easy compared to what we were doing.
Right.
So,
it's amazing to see guys, and it doesn't matter how old they are, but they get on the mountain bike and they're just like good. And you're like, what's the background? And it always comes back to a moto or BMX.
It's moto or BMX, one of the two. Yeah. So parents, if y'all are listening, don't put your kids in baseball, football, put them into BMX. Like, do something different,
It's shocking how that skill translates all the way through.
All the way. Like, I tell people a lot of the time, I've given the advice over the years, like, they're like, because I've done some mountain bike clinics here and there, and like, I've done some one-on-one coaching here and there, and like, one thing that I've told a lot of people is, like, if you want to learn how to ride your bike, go watch the Grands in Tulsa, because the only reason I've had what little success I've had in mountain bike racing isn't because I've never been the fittest rider. It's that if there's a rock or a root, I'm going to push off the backside of that thing and get as much forward momentum as possible. And you watch someone race BMX, you'll see what I'm talking about. People know now because of the pump track at the in that area, like, they're learning how momentum works with their bike and how to cheat physics and things like that. But BMX riders, man, they rape physics. It's amazing to watch.
It's not fair. Because I come from completely opposite with none of this in my background. And I remember I was out at Bluff one day and Drummond was there and I was finishing up and he's like, oh, let's go ride a lap real quick. So like, okay, cool. I was like, I'll follow you. I just want to see your lines. Like, I just want to learn like how you're taking this thing. He's like, yeah, cool, that's fine. Well, clearly we're completely different ends of the spectrum on fitness and speed. So he just kind of stayed with me, but there was so much of the trail he never pedaled, and I'm at like 85-90% effort and he pull away from me and I'm like, you're not even pedaling. So then we get done and he's just bouncing all over the place. He's in the air all the time and just jumping around like little hops and all this stuff. So we get done. I rode maybe 85% effort. I PR'd everything, just trying to follow him. Had no idea what I was doing. And I get done, I was like, dude, you're off the ground all the time. He's like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
He just naturally moves around.
Yeah, it's disgusting, man. Like
it's disgusting. It's so unfair. It's like cheating.
It is honestly, like I've never beat Drummond ever in a bike race that I'm pretty sure I'd never. But I've been on his wheel in certain races for certain periods of time before he ejects me. And I remember once I was racing out at Draper with him, and I managed to stick onto his wheel for a little while. And I've been racing as a Cat 1 mountain bike racer for a long time, 20-something years now, and I remember we went through like a turn that had a slight berm built into it, and everyone would know the term if I could show you. But we went into it, and I mean we both go into it Mach 10, hit it, and neither one of us are on our brakes. But somehow I'm still years later trying to figure this out. He's a bike length and a half off in front of me, and I'm like, what the hell? What
happened?
Yeah, but like with moto, and I get it because I don't ride motocross or supercross. Obviously, I do have an enduro bike, and I have ridden dirt bikes just for fun. Like it is, you have to let it work and let it eat, and like so it is kind of like once you learn that, and then that bike is so light, the bicycle is just so light that like for them it's like, it's neuromuscular response. It's not even something they think about.
Yeah, he had no idea that he bounced all over the place. I'm like, dude, this isn't even fair.
It's not even fair.
It's not fair.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna know where I'm at for the rest of my life after watching that.
Yeah, totally.
Because he couldn't go slow if he wanted to.
Yeah, and it's like so. I remember actually whenever he started racing mountain bikes, this guy I worked at the bicycle store 2 on the south side of Oklahoma City before Schlegel bought or got into the location in downtown. It was me and Charles, Steve, and Brandon.
Oh my gosh, what a crew.
And Paul worked part-time.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, which was basically not really work. It's like we screwed around all day, and then we worked sometimes.
It was like a frat house with 12-year-olds.
Yeah, right. And it was debatable on who was going to be wearing clothes on that day and all that kind of stuff. It was a good time. But I remember we had Rick and this dude Marty. They were really good buddies. They're both super good. Anyway, Marty called me one day. He's like, "Hey, man." And at the time it was me and Forrest were the 2 fast guys in Oklahoma City, and he's like, "Hey man, there's this new guy that's riding, and I want you to go ride with him and see what you think," and yada yada yada. So like I got wind of this new guy, and like right away, the first time I don't remember where I rode with him at, it had to be Draper. I was like, he's gonna be good. Like he's gonna be really good. And he had just started and was already blowing the doors off. I was like,
it's crazy.
Oh crap.
Yeah. So you got into the racing side of things through mountain biking.
Yeah.
Is that kind of where you've always stuck? Because I know you do some local stuff on your crit stuff, right?
Yeah. So it's funny you say that today, because literally today I was talking to one of our customers who's a new team member with us, and I was like, man, I've always said forever, 20-something years now, that I'm a mountain bike racer. Mm-hmm. Like, and that's what I pursued as my dream. Like that's why I quit college.
Yeah.
And that's a whole other deal. And
maybe we'll come back to that.
Yeah, and I was like, I'm a mountain bike racer by heart. But then not too long ago, I was looking at, USA Cycling has most of your results. Now, they don't go back all the way to 1999, but they go back quite a ways. I was like, ugh, technically I'm a road racer, because I'm probably 70% road events and 30% mountain bike events. So, but part of that's because
there's more of them.
There's just more of them. It's
Yeah.
easier to go hit them all the time.
Yeah.
And if I'm perfectly honest, like I said today, I was like, I feel like I just kind of came out of the closet as a road racer. Like,
congratulations.
Like today, yeah, thanks. So
Hello,
today's the day. Like,
Yeah.
43.
You'll remember this
I'm a
forever.
road racer. Yeah.
Congratulations.
So
proud of you.
Yeah. I haven't told my parents yet.
Well, maybe awkward.
Yeah, it could be.
Have you told your wife?
Yeah, I think she knows. I even shave my legs in the wintertime, so it's kind of a giveaway.
It's kind of official.
Yeah, it is, for sure. I weigh in every day.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
There's heavy right now.
Yeah, all the things you've just said, I think it speaks for itself. Everybody knew.
Everyone knew. I don't drink. That's the other thing.
Yeah, you do not. You're not in the mountain bike world. No, not even a little bit.
Yeah, but I mean, like, truly, like, I love mountain bike racing. Like, I think the thing is like, I've just been doing it for so long. I've done the Oklahoma. Last year was the first time I haven't done the Oklahoma series since 1999. So I've done it. What year is this? 2023, 2022. So I've literally done it 21 years in a row.
Yeah.
So,
well, and that gets tough because I mean that's how I was with multi-sport. I'm like, I just needed a couple years off because it's like the same races, the same courses, the same people. So when you show up, you're like, okay, well he's gonna finish first. Me and that guy are gonna battle. He's gonna finish behind me. But if I screw up, he can catch me. What I mean,
yep,
you just know what it's going to happen.
You just know what it is, man, and it's like
it's still fun, but it gets the excitement gets gone.
It gets a little Groundhog Day,
for sure.
And the ability to go travel, with us owning the shop is just, it's not as easy to do.
It's
it
tough.
Just is what it is, and so I don't get to go see those exciting races, and when you have a race, of course. Then you have to tell everyone why you didn't do well.
Well, no, that's just built in. Yeah.
So
are you going to do the crits and stuff this year down at Wheeler and just kind of around the state, or?
I definitely have some season goals this year that are pretty lofty. Actually, I don't know if I want to say those out loud, but I'm going to do as much as I can. Last year I got a forced upgrade unexpectedly. I don't know how it happened. I didn't even think I had enough points, honestly. So I'm back to being a 2 again, which is dumb. But
you like being more in the 3s?
I don't. I downgraded myself right before we bought the shop because I wasn't road racing that much, and man, in that 1-2 category, if you don't have teammates.
Well,
I mean, unless you're Evan or whoever, and I'm not.
Well, and I think it's one of those things from the outside looking in and watching you guys. I'm like, to get to a 3, you got to work, but you can get to a 3 with just putting in some effort. But from a 3 to a 2, it becomes like a job.
It's a job
because the races are so much longer and so much harder.
Yeah,
and it's not the same step all the way up. Once you hit a 2, it's like for real.
It's for real, man. And I was just like, I didn't want to. And the aggression inside those races is just a lot higher too. And I try my best not to play into it, but like and I was like, man, I just don't want to. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I don't do that. And then and I battled. I have a big problem with road racing, amateur road racing, and that is that you can have as many teammates as you want. And like I've struggled with this. Because I've always kind of been the lone wolf out there. I've had 1 or 2 here and there, but I've never been part of a big team. And I just get so disgusted whenever I see teams show up with 10, 12 guys in the field. And I'm like, really? Like, what? Like in basketball, you can't show up with 23 guys on the same team.
Right.
You get 5 and 5, or whatever the number is. And volleyball, baseball, football, like every organized sport is that way except amateur cycling. So like you get these teams that are like, let's just bring on everyone and we'll just entice them all to come on. And I'm like, who's that suiting exactly? Because like you're not going to develop people very far, and then other people don't want to go race because you're just writing checks to that team is all you're doing. It's pretty lame. And I've actually petitioned USA Cycling to consider putting a cap on amateur teams.
And all and every World Tour race, there's a number.
There's a number. You can't just keep adding.
I never
people.
thought about it, but it makes sense.
I think that's the problem. I think that with amateur cycling, no one's just ever thought about it. But being somebody who's literally been kidney punched year after year after year after year,
and that's most people.
That's most people. And so you either you either join them or you quit racing.
Right. I never even thought about it, but yeah, it makes total sense.
Yeah. And so anyway, all that to say that that was part of it. I was like, man, I either have to develop a team or, and then to develop a team, that's a whole other thing. And it's, and I know Hodges did a good job at talking about what that requires and how much it costs, and there, all anyone usually ever does is complain, and just a huge rigmarole.
And especially when you're dealing with that top end athlete, and a roadie, it's like, it's a recipe for a lot of complaining.
It's a recipe, man. So
a lot of egos involved there.
We got to really I like where we're at right now, and generally I just race masters anyway now. Well, not that that's really any easier, but at least it's not super team versus.
It's just not, and it's not as long.
It's not as long, but
it's just as competitive.
Yeah, and it's usually earlier in the day, so it's cooler. There's a lot of great things about it.
Older is wiser.
Older is wiser, no doubt about it, and. But I mean, to be honest, I can definitely tell you, I can show my power files. I did several masters, like in Bixby, for example, there was 2 masters races that I had like a 12 or 15 watt higher normalized power than I did in the 1-2 race.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I might go watch this. I mean, because everybody that's fast in the 1-2s is going to race the Masters if they're of age, like almost always.
Almost always.
And then you get the guys that are like really good, but they're like 40 or 45, and they're like, man, I don't want to race with those young guys. And they're just as good. They just don't want to do it.
Yeah,
so
super fresh.
So it's
all the cards on the table. Yeah. It turns out.
I used to think it was easier when I didn't know any different, and I don't race it, but I used to just be like, oh, it's a bunch of old guys. It's not a bunch of old guys.
No, man, it's not. And I mean,
all those old guys are all like ex-national champions, ex-pros, ex-Cat ones.
Friday Night Tulsa Tough this year, man, there had to be 8, 9 national championship jerseys in that field. And I was like, are you kidding me, dude? Like,
it's brutal.
Yeah, it's brutal. Like, I'd be like going through a turn, and here comes a Stars and Stripes jersey right up my inside. I'm like, well, there's another one,
Yeah.
And where'd you come from? Like,
man,
that wasn't even a line. How'd you know that? So but I generally like it because it feels safer in general too. Less risk taking. Everyone's got jobs. So
right. Everybody, 100%. Yeah, that's the big thing. So, are you guys developing it? Are you going to have a neighborhood team? Because was it last year, or the year before? You guys had a solid group of people.
Yeah, we do have it. We do have a team. Man, it was really odd timing because we had like a big influx of riders that came in and COVID hit. So it's like, oh, man, like
I will say, as an outsider, your kits are my favorite.
Thanks.
The white with the blue, super clean.
Yeah.
And the orange, it was off the charts.
I'll give credit where credit's due. That's Sarah and Ryan. Ryan does most of our design work, and he and Sarah work close together. I can't take any credit for that, but every time they come up with something, like, nailed it.
That was clean.
Yeah.
They were good.
Yeah. And so we're working on a new one right now. Because that one's 2 years old now, and it's time for a new one. But I am going to miss that one because I liked it too.
I did too. Simple.
I like classic stuff. I'm old.
So. I agree. Yeah, I like it. Yeah. So you guys are developing a group this year.
Yeah. I kind of lost the steam, and thankfully, like, kind of out of nowhere, we got a couple of new riders. We lost, as you always do with the team, you lose some, and I try not to let it, like. If you want to move, that's fine.
Just is what it is.
It is what it is. But we got a couple of new riders, and they're fired up. And we got some new Cat 5s that are, super excited. And I get more excited for those dudes, honestly. Like, I like seeing people fired up because I love bike racing. Like, I do this. I can go on for 3 hours about why I'm in the bike industry. And one of those reasons is, I love bike racing. I believe in bike racing. It saved my life in some ways. It defined who I am and who I would become, and yada yada yada. And so, like, I've always been excited about bike racing, but as time goes on, you're just like, whew, like, it's just a grind. It's hard to be a bike racer because it's from the time you wake up to the time you go to bed, every single day, every day counts.
Especially at that level.
Yeah. And like, I don't foresee not doing it in the future. Like, as long as I'm physically capable, I plan on doing this. Like, I have some, Steve Tilford was a huge role model to me. Did he have his quirks about him that were hard to get along with? Sure. All bike racers do. But like, I was like, I remember being a young bike racer looking at Steve Tilford and just being like, man, I want to be the dude that's 47, 52, whatever, that shows up and people go, shit, he's here. Like, that is cool to me. Like, that's cooler to me than somebody who's in college, that doesn't have a job, that has all the time in the world, can sleep all day. And that's cool that they're going to be an athlete, don't get me wrong, but that's way less impressive than somebody who, Peter, for example, who has a full-time job, kids in college,
It's shocking, especially the older you get, or like the middle of your career kind of thing, like when you're like in your mid-30s and stuff, and you look around, you're like, dude, I don't understand how these guys do it. Like, they just give up so many things around their life for that. And it's impressive to watch someone, or like to go do a training in Ironman, and then they have like 2 young kids and, a 50, and they run a company or have a business, you're just like, I don't like it that much. I don't care that much.
No, and I don't
sacrifice like that.
I don't think that somebody is wrong to not be that. Like, it doesn't mean you're less of a person. In a lot of ways, you're probably a better person or smarter.
Impressive.
Yeah, it's just that person that's their personality type, and it is impressive.
The
but
dedication is amazing.
Yeah, like I don't feel like if you're not wired that way, that you shouldn't feel like I'm not as adequate or whatever. That like it's when you see it, it's like. And because I've been racing for so long, I see these people, 2 or 3 kids and like full-time job and single parent or whatever. And like, there's always, and anytime I'm like, man, I just don't have time, blah, blah, blah. Then I meet somebody, I'm like, ooh,
100%.
I do have time.
For sure.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I'm at right now.
I watched 3 episodes of Frasier last night.
Yeah.
I've already seen them.
But if I could find the time to ride today, it would have been great. I didn't have time.
Yeah.
Exactly. No, that's kind of where I live my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're hustling though, man, I mean, like I will say, like I have to be more creative with when that time is now, obviously.
Right.
Just like you.
You have to be more aware of things. Yeah. So to finish up the team stuff before we get into the shop, because I want to talk about that, is so you guys are going to go a full team, like your development team and like your top end guys, like the whole gamut?
No, we are. I mean, I'm not opposed to anything.
Right.
But like when I started working in a shop in Tulsa, T-Town, Dave Billingsley owns that shop. Dave's a good friend of mine, and I hold a lot of what he's told me very dear to my heart, because he's just a wise guy. And one of the things that he like was pretty adamant about, and he's like, he's not currently road racing anymore, but it's either him, Peter, or Yanni. One of those 3 have the oldest racing license. It's one of those 3.
Wow.
But, so he's like old school, and he knows how to win races, and like he's just a badass. But like one of the things that he was like, dude, don't go after bike racers. Like let it happen organically. If they don't want to be with you and lift you up and lift up what you're doing, as a shop, don't worry about them, man.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, there's a lot of them that are out there just trying to get their discount and
that's 100%.
Their free kit, their race entries.
Yeah, and like like right now, and the reason I said no to that question is because the group that we have right now, like the general sentiment I feel is that it's not what can you do for me is like me for them. It's how can we help you and help you grow your business. And
they're
it's
true
like
teammates.
They're true teammates, and they truly have our backs. And one of the things that Dave said to me, he's like, man, if you got people coming to you as a discount, they call themselves your friend. Like, if you can't charge your friend full retail, who can you charge full retail to? Like, if they're your friend, they should want to support you. And I was like, because growing up in shops, or from the time I was 19, all your buddies are like, yo, can you hook me up? And it's like, and you feel obligated to do that in a way. But then, like, as the older I got, I was like, man, if you work in the bike industry, like, ain't nobody getting rich.
Nobody.
And like,
nobody.
Just because your buddy's a CPA, have you ever been like, yo, can you hook me up?
Do my taxes for
free? Like, you would never do that. And so, like, the bike industry has this problem, I feel like, with that in general. So, like, I'm not pushing for growth. I'd love to have it, but I want it to happen organically. I'd love to have an elite team. But I'd love to have that elite team have a direction of purpose, like whether it's trying to spread the word about some type of foundation, or whether it's, whatever it is, or just trying to be good ambassadors of the sport in general. Like, I'd rather for that to just happen organically, because I'm not out there setting a bad example and someone just wants to support what it is that I'm doing, or whoever's doing, or Peter's doing.
Will you have a couple of teammates this year for you to race with? Or are you going to be kind of a lone wolf again?
My good friend Brian Duvall from Tulsa is going to race with me, and we've picked up a couple of others unofficially. But the kit's late because I lost steam last year. So we'll see who shows up when and what kits and all that stuff. But I'm really excited about who we have, the new guys that we have this year.